Following the highly successful running of a regular steam-hauled passenger service from Fort William to Mallaig in 1984, ScotRail has again scheduled steam workings in 1985, with a public service 5 days a week from Sundays to Thursdays and private charters on Fridays. The two Black Fives which worked the services in 1984 are again to be employed, this time without the Scottish Railway Preservation Society's North British 060 Maud, which proved to have inadequate power for the demands made. Early services were worked by 44767 George Stephenson, but at the beginning of July it was joined by 5407. The latter arrived facing in the opposite direction to 44767, and for 1 week worked Smokebox First from Mallaig, as seen here. This, however, caused difficulties on shed at Fort William, and it was turned on July the 13th at Glasgow to run Smokebox First to Mallaig for the rest of the season. With the commencement of the 1985 timetable, a number of stations were opened or reopened. ScotRail opened the one seen here, together with others at Loch Awe and Port Lethen. The Western region reopened Melksham Station, running one train in each direction daily, the inaugural train being seen here. Oakhampton was experimentally opened for the day on the 25th of May, with 2 trains in each direction. Further trains to be run on July the 27th and August the 10th and 24th. A further ex-Southern Railway station recommenced workings on the 25th of May, when the Mid-Hants Railway ran its first steam train from Alton to Alresford, appropriately hauled by the N mogul which inaugurated Mid-Hants Railway workings in April 1977. Progress on the Hastings electrification includes the laying of concrete slab track through Grove Hill Tunnel. Grove Junction, however, was taken out of use on Friday the 5th of July, the day before the line from here to Birchton Junction was closed to passengers. We rode in the cab of Class 207 Oxted Unit 1310, some 10 days before closure. Tunbridge Wells West remained an imposing station to the end and will survive the closure of the line, the main buildings and clock tower having been awarded listed buildings status. The original engine shed and goods shed remain standing, and the extensive sidings were scheduled to remain in use for a further 5 to 6 weeks for stock berthing and refuelling purposes, with access from the Erridge end only. Groombridge once had 3 platform faces, being the junction for the now lifted line to East Grinstead via Hartfield and Forest Row. This is the only town to completely lose its rail service with the closure of the line. At Birchton Junction, the line joined the Oxted to Uckfield line, whose own future is now considered to be under threat, despite BR denials. It'll soon be an isolated diesel-run line, as the East Grinstead line is to be electrified. Erridge is a pleasant small junction station in the middle of nowhere and will no doubt shortly be reduced to 2 through platforms as a result of the closure. The Great Central Railway is the only ex-BR main line in preservation. Pride of the line is the only remaining ex-Great Central Express passenger locomotive, Director Class, number 506. The line runs both preserved steam and diesel, the first train of the day usually being a DMU. Loughborough Central is a classic Great Central Island platform design, forming the northern terminus of the line. All the railway's facilities and berthing sidings are situated here, each platform being signalled for bi-directional running. The line boasts some heavy motive power, the ex-Great Western 280 tank having been brought into service this year. Robert Nelson No. 4 was the line's first operating locomotive and is used on both shunting and mainline duties. During the 1984-85 winter, the railway borrowed Kent and East Sussex Railway austerity tank Northern, which has now been returned to Kent. Mainline locomotives of each of the four groups are represented on the railway, all having been used over the Great Central in its heyday. Most notable amongst the engines to be brought into service soon is the unique BR Standard Class 8 Pacific, number 71,000, Duke of Gloucester. Work on this is expected to be completed shortly. Being a main line, there are few curves or gradients, the director being seen heading south out of Loughborough. Quorm and Woodhouse Station is currently the only through station, and work is in hand for the installation of a passing loop here. The Class 14 diesels are normally reliable, but number 9523 had failed on Saturday the 6th of July and was to be rescued by sister engine 9516, seen here hauling its recalcitrant fellow back to Loughborough. The most notable scenery on the line is around Swithland Reservoir, the GW tank being seen here running over the viaducts. The Great Central runs the only privately preserved Class 40, number 4106, which was unique in never receiving a blue livery. The present southern terminus is Rothley Station, which has a run-round loop. This is again a Great Central Island platform and is virtually the same as Quarmond Woodhouse. On the 8th of July 1985, the Great Central opened an appeal for £250,000 to build an extension to Burst Hall on the outskirts of Leicester. The appeal was launched by the Duke of Gloucester, who first inspected the locomotive bearing his name at Loughborough. The Duke fixed a symbolic first bolt to the track south of Rothley before, appropriately, 506 Butler Henderson broke the tape and headed for Burstall. We'll be there to record the next train to arrive at Burstall.
Online video, the new one. We bring you vintage steam, industrials, parades, trams, buses, diesels old and new. And we don't use jerky, scratchy home movies or home video. Just send a stamped addressed envelope for a free list to this address.
Our cab ride this issue is over the West Coast Main Line, 2 days before Crewe Station was closed for complete track remodelling for 7 weeks in the middle of 1985. Inspector Peter Crawley accompanied us and points out features of interest for us during the journey.
Service 2 weeks ago with the start of the new 313 service, but they found that they haven't got enough to cover the service yet. And there's an old 304 unit up the slow line. That's very unusual to see them. They're not very often up this end of the country now.
Are they more down at Manchester?
Well, yeah, that's right. The other side of Rugby you see them occasionally, but they are more in the Manchester area now. So we say after train station is train cutting. And train cutting was actually cut out by hand in the 1830s. It was all cut out by hand. It's the rail connection from our line which goes over the top down to the Great Central line and ultimately to the Great Western. But it's never been used except for possibly a couple of trains a day. This is Bletchley.
Oh, it's actually still laid, of course.
Oh yes, yeah, the trains still use it. There's a 25 on the breakdown vans over in the Bedford Bay and an EMU on the up slow line there. Carriage sidings on the right where a lot of the EMUs are stabled overnight. You see the Northampton lines dipping down below us over there now, and then they veer away to the right here. We're in road cutting, which is another famous engineering landmark.
A level crossing.
This is the first one. This is the very first one.
Very inconvenient.
And very busy as well, believe me. Very busy. You can see some of the viaducts on the right-hand side there, which used to carry the branches from Rugby. They're all now gone. That one used to go round towards Peterborough. You had lines to Market Harbour and various other places, left and right.
Great Central came through here.
Yeah, the Great Central went over the top, and we'll be going under the big steel girder bridge which used to carry it, and it's still in situ today, yeah? That's it, yes.
And there's nothing carried on that steel bridge.
No, you see at the end of the bridge either side, it's just cut off short.
So it is. You think they'd have taken it down for steel?
You would. I believe they made a serious mistake in the approach to taking down that railway. If they'd have kept the railway to the bridge and taken it down and moved it away, now they've got no means of transporting it away, you see.
It cost more than the bridge as well.
I'm sure it would. Now, this is Trent Valley Junction, and this is the junction for, in our case, going straight down the Trent Valley line, and a facility on this signal here for going round towards Coventry and Birmingham and Wolverhampton. So the Stour Valley line goes off to the left, the Stour line, I beg your pardon, not Valley line, and the Trent Valley line continues straight on.
This is a nice speed turnout,
It's 60 mile an hour turnout, this one.
which is the 9 speed to the station as well, normally.
That's right, yes. Our speed on this line doesn't increase until we get beyond the flyover here, which carries the up Birmingham Coventry line over the top of our line, and then we get through the neutral section. Our 100 mile an hour starts there. There's the signal box, and you can see just beyond is the line going off to the right for Stoke-on-Trent and Manchester ultimately. On the left is the lines from Birmingham, the Stour line again, which converges with us here at Stafford.
That's for 3 tracks, 4 tracks.
Yeah, there is 3 tracks at the moment at that point, only for a few hundred yards. This wagon turntable, I think it was, yeah. The Stafford sidings here with a 304 unit in the sidings and a DMU stuck there as well. Somebody photographing us. That's the old steam shed, Stafford steam shed. Yeah, the old building's still standing. Yeah. An old 85 on an Up Express here.
Sometimes you can clean the room better when you're down in the road.
This is Crew Station. You can see that we've got a run right the way through the station now with the next green signal. That incidentally was the site of the old Crew South steam shed where that pile of ballast was. This is the TMD, not the TMD, this is the diesel depot here at Crew. The electric depot is round on the Chester Road. We don't see anything of that. We're going through number 2 road. And there's 47s and there's 25s and electric locos all over the place. One named Robin Hood there. 47. Up until recently there was a few of the 87024 all done out in a finery there. Lawn of the Isles with white paint. Road here. The lines to the left lead to Chester. The lines to the right lead to Manchester. And the line straight down is the one we're taking, which either goes straight through on the North Road to Glasgow or Weaver as far as we're concerned, where we're going round onto the left for Liverpool.
I came on a rail tour here once up to Carnforth and they put us on the wrong track. We stopped about here and went back into the station.
Great stuff. Lovely.
All signalman was a bit confused about who we were.
On the left here is where the Crew Works was. This is the area of Crew Works. Yeah. He's come from Liverpool. Sorry?
The Liverpool's Crew,
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Oh, we have a flashing yellow at the junction.
Quite a good service. Another flashing yellow here, which means that we are taking the diverging route. And as I say,
Do you know which river this is?
this is the Weaver navigation. That's it, the Weaver navigation.
Ah.
That's what it says on that board down there anyway.
Well, that seems to be a pretty good way of
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. We actually go over the Mersey and the Manchester Ship Canal at Runcorn, just beyond Runcorn Station.
Oh, yes. The road to the right is therefore the
Well, straight
line to the north.
Yeah, straight on is the North Road to Preston, Carlisle and Glasgow. And the diverging route which we take to the left is the one for Liverpool. Again, the up Liverpool. Sorry?
This one goes on.
Yeah, that's right. The up Liverpool comes over on a flyover and comes down at the Weaver Junction to join up with the main line. It even tells us where we're going there, look, to Liverpool.
We know we're on the right.
Well, that used to be the old ferry bridge.
Yes, yeah. You can see the Manchester Ship Canal. That's the one. Well, we're leaving that mushroom at Halewood well behind us now. It's right behind us here.
Yeah.
We've got to go right beside of that. But you'll see the way the railway curves when we get off this bridge over a very big viaduct.
Come up this far in steam days still?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's like Carlisle.
Did you work out of Camden with the place? That's on one of the... I think on one of the few bands that it's still left.
Yeah, there's not many. Sorry?
That's very much so.
Yes, yeah.
Rubbish down.
Oh yes, yes. Terrible, it really is. I don't think we're going to see the number of that 45 because it's going to be hidden.
It's a very nice shot.
Oh, it's a great shot. Nice wide vista of the station. 47 on platform 1 waiting to leave.
Whenever they reinstated some 40s at Crewe.
No, surely not. I haven't heard that. Is that right?
I can tell there was a set number when they reinstated
Good.
to haul the trains around the emergency line.
Oh, well, you could well be right, yes. Yeah.
There's the time on the clock.
11:35, we're only a minute or two out. '81 on the left. 020. The numbers are a little bit crooked. Haven't got them on very straight.
Fish on it.
That's us.
There we are, stop.
Hello, plenty of place over there.
The Southern Main Line out of Waterloo was the last bastion of steam power in the 1960s. The film which follows was shot by drivers and firemen working from Nine Elms depot during those final years. Waterloo was the Southern's principal mainline station for London, and the suburban services were electrified from as early as 1915. Steam and electric existed side by side for 52 years. Nine Elms was the principal steam shed on the southwestern network, having also been the site of the LSWR's original locomotive works, until transfer of these to Eastleigh at the turn of the century. Bullet Pacifics were the main motive power from the end of the war to the end of steam, joined in later years by various standard classes. The second run of the Great Western Pullman from Bristol to Plymouth was little more fortunate than the first. Hagley Hall was coaled at Bristol Bath Road with poor quality coal, which prevented her from steaming freely. After a good run through Taunton and Exeter and along the sea wall at Star Cross, pursued by a helicopter which caused a lot of misery for spectators, summer Saturday scenes of the 30s were recreated at Newton Abbot. The castle having to do the lion's share of work up Dainton, with 600 tons on, the train stalled and had to be banked by a Class 50 being terminated at Totnes. Clun Castle was the star turn at Tyseley's Open weekend on the 8th and 9th of June, working all that weekend's Shakespeare Expresses, except the first, which was hauled by 5593 Collipur before it failed with a hot box. It failed with a hot box. Tyseley's formidable array of equipment was immediately put to use, but, despite dropping the front drivers by 8 o'clock that evening, Collipur was not repaired in time and ran no further. A further LMS locomotive working on BR is the Duchess, 46229, which, after hitting an overbridge, appeared destined to work no more on the Marylebone specials. However, she worked up to Aylesbury for the station's open day, and thanks to BR lowering the track under the offending bridge, indicating how highly they regard the Marylebone operation, she's been reinstated on that line. Southern locomotives were in use for the inaugural Scarborough Spa Express from York, 4771 Green Arrow not yet being ready for mainline work. Sir Lamiel and City of Wells shared the honours. BR contributed a form of preservation with the reinstatement of 4 withdrawn Class 40s for use on ballast trains in connection with the crew modernisation. Semaphore signalling remains on the majority of the Highland lines of ScotRail, but distance signals have now been replaced by painted boards. It's expected that remaining semaphores will be replaced by radio signalling in the near future. The X-Class 25 Ethels will also be eliminated shortly as Class 37 4s are delivered to ScotRail. Throughout the summer of 1985, a private charter train, the Royal Scotsman, has run on ScotRail, visiting Fort William on Fridays for steam haulage to Mallaig. Class 45, number 45143, was originally named 5th Royal Inniskillen Dragoon Guards in 1965, and on June the 11th it was rededicated in the regiment's 300th year with the addition of plates marked 1685-1985. This gave rise to the unusual appearance of a Class 45 at Waterloo and its use on a West of England train, seen here at Andover, near the regiment's base at Tidworth. The first passenger train to use the Mid-Hants Railway's connection to BR at Alton was a Hastings DEMU, running through to Alresford as part of a rail tour on July the 20th. The SEG and RCTS ran a rail tour featuring the preserved 2-bill and 4 sub-units over southern lines, the pair being seen travelling at high speed on the second leg of the tour on the Bournemouth main line. Extension of the electrification of the Bournemouth main line is currently being considered for the stretch from Bournemouth to Weymouth, but in June the portion from Moreton to Dorchester was singled. City of Truro's mainline outing, booked for July the 20th, had to be cancelled as the locomotive's overhaul was not completed in time. GW150 celebrations have been dampened by the news of the Swindon closure, resulting in the blacking of number 6000 King George V, which had been sent to Swindon for weighing after its failure in April. The Great Western Society organised a GW 150 celebration during the last 2 weeks of May, a number of visiting locomotives having been scheduled to go on to the now cancelled Swindon exhibition. It now seems that the Didcot lineup will have been the largest to be seen in the GW 150 year.